But right now, I'm joined by LaVar Arrington and Fox football, college football analyst Reggie Bush. Today,
What's going on?
We're going to start with one of Reggie's and my teammate, Drew Brees, who was buried in an avalanche of criticism from around the sports world yesterday after some comments about the possible return of kneeling during the national anthem in the NFL this year. It didn't take long for Brees to walk back his comments, writing, quote, "I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issues we are facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. Instead, those words have become divisive and hurtful and have misled people into believing that somehow I am an enemy. I am sick about the way my comments were perceived yesterday, but I take full responsibility and accountability." Reggie, what's your reaction to Brees' comments?
I was frustrated. I was frustrated that he still didn't get it and that he made it about the flag, because it was never about the flag. From day one, when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, a peaceful knee, a peaceful protest, it was always about the injustice and the police brutality that continues to happen even to this day right now. And, you know, me and my wife went out to protest because we wanted to know and see what the temperature was of the people and the climate and how they felt, because we wanted to know if they felt that same pain and that same anger and frustration that we felt, because I also have a responsibility to raise my sons and daughters in this world. And I'm scared as hell when they get pulled over by a police officer. And I should not be scared of when my kids get pulled over by a police officer. And so when we went out to these protests, what we saw were people of all colors, white, black, Asian, Spanish, all with their fists up, right? And so what that tells me is that everybody gets it. All colors. Everybody in this world gets it. We've seen protests all around the world. And me and LaVar talked about this before the show started. That's what social media allows you to do. It allows you to see just how many people are on the same page. The whole entire United States and so many different countries in the world have all been marching and peacefully protesting for this. So how come you don't still get it? Because I know Drew Brees is a man of high character. I know he's a man of honor. I know he's a man of God. I know he's a leader, and I know his name carries weight. And so he knows better. Not he should know better. He knows better, right? And so this is the predicament now that we're in, because you know, there are a lot of people that are upset at the comments. And again, I understand the apology as well. But this is something now that, you know, Drew's going to have to make right.
You know, when I look at it, it's interesting you say what you say, Reg, because he doesn't get it. Like, he failed to connect what people, living things, living organisms are going through versus what the flag itself represents to him. So I felt like he was having a real moment. And sometimes the things that can make you successful and make you the high character person that you are sometimes the things that can keep you away from sometimes understanding and comprehending simple things, right? So that laser sharp focus that Drew Brees has, the discipline that he exercises as a quarterback and as a person, I think came into play on his take of the flag. And he relies on what his experience has been. He relies on what he interprets as what's right versus wrong. And what he fails to understand is that the power that he brings to the table ultimately gives him the ability to dictate what that is. Just like him saying, my personal experiences, this is how I see it. Using your grandfather and your family as examples of people that have fought in our military. And that's why he stands and puts his hand on his chest over his heart. And I get that's his opinion and that's his take on it. But he's failing to see the bigger picture and connecting the pain and the frustration and the anger that a group of people are feeling because, for what it's worth, my father lost a foot and a leg. He has no feet. I'll never run one day with my daddy because he fought in the Vietnam War for some of these truths and these freedoms that we're talking about. I feel what my people are feeling in these moments. I'm not going to be ignorant to what other people are feeling, but let's just be clear for 1 second. Other people have fought in this war that are going through the same thing that the people are protesting about. So what Drew did was disconnect himself from the realities of what everybody that represents that flag represent. And I think that was the tremendous miss here.
It really was. Drew tried to take cover under the cloth of the flag and avoid a greater conversation of race. And that was a gross misstep. This is a Drew Brees who I've known for 20 years, day one in the NFL. I can vouch for Drew Brees' character in terms of being a guy that understands the complexities of this world. Drew Brees is more than a tremendous quarterback. He's been a tremendous citizen everywhere he's been. His works in terms of his Katrina efforts, his works in terms of his $5 million donated to COVID. I could end this show still talking about Drew Brees' efforts in terms of giving to others, especially those who don't look like Drew Brees. But Drew did step in it in this situation. And I think he stepped in it, and he stepped in it knowing that he was doing that. He owned his own steps. It's crazy to see that when we're having this ceremonial moment, when everyone's eyes are pierced on the flag and everyone's ears are open to the lyrics of the anthem, that we're really seeing a conflict of interest. We're really seeing a battle between idealism and realism. And what happens in moments like this is that you start to hear and discern different information based on your experiences. So you can love the ceremony if you're a Drew Brees. You can love what the ideals are being promoted in the anthem. But black people look at it from a whole different perspective of realism and saying that those ideals have not been lived up to, that those ideals sound fantasy instead of real. And what's happening right now in our minds, in our interactions, on social media, this conflict is really just a war zone of the ideals that were promoted and the real that we are living through. LaVar, listening to Drew Brees talk through this, and then you hear, and then you know, and it's this complete mix of emotions. Where does that put you?
Yeah, I mean, it opens your eyes, just like you want people to have their eyes open to what black people are going through, right? I said today, I posted this, that if we're saying all lives matter, it's like a puzzle. When you put together a puzzle and you're putting in all these pieces of lives that matter, we can't say all lives matter and look at the puzzle and feel good about it until it's complete, or else you're distracted by seeing the pieces that are missing in that puzzle that create the picture. So for me, my reaction is, let's just keep putting the pieces into the puzzle, because that is the best way to approach this, because the realities that Drew Brees spoke of are a lot of the realities that other people share. He only apologized because of the backlash and the outrage. Be clear on that. He spoke his truth, and a lot of people agreed with that truth and agree with that truth. So I think you don't have to agree with what we're feeling as a people. You don't have to know what we're going through, but put the piece in the puzzle. Because if you put the piece in the puzzle, we can continue the conversation on an even plane, even if we don't fully understand what our backgrounds say our true realities are.
Well, I think, Marcel, I thought you made a great point, because, black people don't feel that same sense of pride when we look at that flag as maybe some of our white fellow Americans do. because we know, like Drew Brees talked about, his grandparents that fought in that same war. When our grandparents and our ancestors came home, they were still shot in the back. They were still, treated like less than human. Unable to vote. We still were enslaved when we came home from those wars, and we're still seeing effects of that even now in 2020. And so this is how powerful this movement is, because the same thing that Colin Kaepernick protested for, taking a knee, right? Now we're seeing police officers take a knee in a sign of solidarity to people. We're seeing police chiefs and police officers march with people because they also understand that, hey, you are us, we are you. Those are our next door neighbors, right? And I know some of those police officers feel the pain that we feel. And that's why we're seeing so many officers, showing up. And look at these images, man. This is powerful stuff that's happening right now, and it's happening all over the world. And there is absolutely no excuse to not get this right now.
Yeah, I think what was a little disturbing for those who intimately know Drew Brees, like myself, like you, Reggie, and I'm sure LaVar, your encounters as well, is that it's 2020 and we're not letting you hide in plain sight anymore. Like, people are calling everything out. And it's crazy because this is Drew Brees that I went to his wedding. Like, Drew Brees, there were moments, a young Drew Brees. I'm talking about day one Drew Brees. I called him out. I wanted him benched. I wanted Doug Flutie to be our quarterback in San Diego. And Drew Brees showed me in that moment he had more character than I did. The next day, after all the firestorm and all of the criticism, the avalanche just dropping on Drew Brees' head, he walked right up to me in that locker room, looked me dead in the eye, emotions all on his sleeve. I mean, literally looking like he's tearing, and he's talking to me, not in spite and not to hold a grudge. He really wanted to talk through that conversation, and we did. And here I am in my 5th, 6th year thinking I'm the man, and I'm getting taught a lesson in character from a rookie. That's the Drew Brees I know. And that's the Drew Brees that I hope comes out of this situation and start to show and reveal more of the great character that his works have shown and this misstep did not show. So look forward to that day.